Welcome to the Luminary by AIESEC in SLIIT, where we interview some of the best Sri Lankan unique personalities for you to get inspired and motivated by going through their life stories and experiences. Now here's your host, Mr.Trevin Hannibal.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Luminary. My name is Trevin Hannibal, and I'll be your host. And let me give you a brief explanation about what Luminary is all about. Well, we have a lineup of interesting celebrities in Sri Lanka, and we will be discussing what they're doing contemporarily, and we will be looking at what their future plans are, and most importantly, we would like to hear some inspiring stories from them. So today we have an interesting celebrity with us, and we would like to welcome Mr. Kamaj Silva. Mr. Kamaj, how are you doing?
Hi, Trevin. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you. So, for the little ones who do not know who Kamaj is, he is a very well established entrepreneur. We'll be talking more about this. You would have seen him in the video in the TV series The Dragon's Den, and he has gone a long way. And we would like to hear some stories about Kamaj. So, Kamaj, let's start with what you're doing these days. What's happening these days? I know COVID has taken a toll, but what's happening these days?
With COVID, Trevin, I don't think there was a major change for our business because we focus mainly on e-commerce. The only effect that happened was we were simultaneously running a retail store called Milk, so we had to close that down because of the uncertainty in the economy, and we're still in a major lockdown here in Toronto. So we had to close the store down, but on the e-commerce front, nothing really changed. The only thing probably that happened was
Right.
as soon as COVID hit, when other people pulled their ad budgets, I doubled our ad budget. So we got a bit of mileage from that. So everything seems pretty normal on our end.
You know, that's really good. Now, I would like to ask for the ones who do not know, um, who is Kamaj Silva according to you, and what do you do for a living? I know you run several businesses, but people would like to know who is Kamaj Silva, an introduction from you, and what you do.
Yeah, so I would, if I was to self-describe myself, I would say I wouldn't necessarily put the term entrepreneur on me because I think I'm a creative before any other labels. So all of my businesses, um, they're not very solution-based businesses, but I would like to say they are very interesting niche business models which serve a very small audience in the culture. So I would say I'm a creative. I run two separate businesses in Canada and a couple of businesses I can't tell you about yet, which are in development. Sneaker Tub
Okay.
and Milk Toronto are the two main businesses which I'm known for and which people know me for. So Sneaker Tub is the world's first sneaker subscription service. I've talked about this a lot, and we can talk about it in the interview when we move forward. And Milk Toronto is a concept retail experience store, which is a milk and cereal themed sneaker and streetwear store. So those are the things that I'm mostly known for.
Right. So I think the first time that I saw you was
Yeah.
in the Dragon's Den video, in that it's in that reality TV show,
Yes.
the Dragon's Den. So I'm sure you would have discussed about this in your previous interviews,
Yeah.
but I think people would like to know, like, how did you get into this, and how was the experience in
Mhm.
this particular show,
Yeah.
and how you felt when things went well for you. So can you just
Um,
take us through that?
Sure. So Dragon's Den, I think I went on the show in season 12 in 2017. So basically, as soon as I started Sneaker Tub in 2016, Dragon's Den reached out to me because we were a very different business, even from other businesses in Toronto and even in the US. There was nothing like our business. So I think it caught one of the producers' eyes, and they reached out to me to come on the show. But we had only started 3 months prior to them contacting me, so I didn't want to go on the show because I didn't think the business was up to par at that point for me to appear on a reality show like Dragon's Den. So I politely declined, and I said, let's try again next year when you guys open for auditions. I will I'll come through the proper channels and I'll audition. So 2017 comes, I see that they're auditioning for Dragon's Den, and I sent, because that producer and I kept in touch. I officially applied, and then I sent her a message and said, oh, hey, we applied. And there was one audition, which was a pitch to the producers. So 6 producers, I pitched to the 6 producers. So kind of got through from that round, and then it was the actual taping of the show. But just because you go for a taping on the show, it doesn't mean you make it to like a final cut of the show. So your pitch has to be really good, or your business idea has to be really unique for you to actually get on the show.
Yes.
And so got through that, pitched
Yeah.
to the Dragons. Everything happened so fast, but you guys
Yeah.
probably saw like a 7-minute cut of that pitch, but
Yes.
the actual pitch went on for closer to an hour and a half, I'd say, back and forth with
Wow.
questions and everything. Yeah, so there
One
was a
and
lot of
half
things that
hours.
there was a lot of things discussed that you guys didn't see.
Right.
So post Dragon's Den, there is this thing called a due diligence period where it's a reality show, and the deal that you do, like a handshake deal that you do, is on reality TV. So it's not an actual deal like signed. So you come out of
Yeah.
you come out of that room, you sign a temporary document saying whether you want to go to the due diligence process or not. Then so we went back and forth for about a year, and I think we both parties felt that we were not the right fit for each other, so we went our separate ways. So we didn't actually take the Dragons Den investment, though it seemed on TV that we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so still I have majority ownership of the company. There's no other investors
Nice.
except for another investor we brought on for Milk when we started Milk, who's a very good friend of mine. So he has a portion of that business. But yeah, post Dragon's Den, that's how it ended up. We didn't take the deal,
Nice.
and we're still
Yeah.
flying.
Nice. I would like to tell you about this Dragon's Den video, and that's because that's how I got to know you, right?
Mhm.
So, so I live in Vancouver, Canada. Whereas for the ones who are watching, Kamaj is in Toronto, and although we are in Canada, it's a massive distance. It's like 2 different countries, in province wise. Now, there's an interesting story
यहाँ
that I
पनि
would like
यहाँ
to tell.
very दूर है रे यहाँ पनि यहाँ very दूर
Yeah, I mean,
technically.
I'm in a province called BC, which is British Columbia,
Yeah,
and Toronto is in Ontario, right?
Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you take BC alone is 64 times larger than, it's like Sri Lanka into 64 times. BC alone.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. But forget about that. What I wanted to tell you was, well, what I do for a living is I am a professor here in a college, in a public college, and there are several subjects that I teach, which is in corporate finance and accounting. But there is one subject which I got recently. I mean, last year. It's called how to start your own business. Now, in that subject, there is basically the students are supposed to do a business plan. They got
Right.
to construct their own business plan, and they got to do a presentation, and they have to do an elevator pitch. And when I teach them about doing an elevator pitch, guess whose video that I play? Mr. Kamaj Silva's video. And I'm so proud to say that this guy is from my country. And seriously, I really did not know, because before having this interview, I got a kind of a description, kind of a bio about you, and I
Yeah.
just have it in front of me right now. And the first line, the first bullet point says, Kamaj Silva is a 35-year-old entrepreneur born and bred in Sri Lanka. He schooled at St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. Now let's talk about your alma mater. Now I really want to see whether this is true or not. So
Yeah. Yeah.
wait. You have to, complete the sentence for me now.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's see. Thomian's young.
Thomian's old. Thomian's staunch and true. Rally round the
Rally.
college flag to blue the black and blue.
Then that's legit. That's legit, my friend. That means this guy is really, I just wanted to do that. But yeah, I knew that today. That I did not know that you were a Thomian. But yeah, it's nice to know about that. And the next question that I would like to ask you is about school. That's why I brought that.
Yeah.
How do you think your alma mater, college, what skills, competencies, what experiences did you gather from college to be the person whom you are now?
Mhm. I think the whole base or the foundation started from college, because anyone who's been a student at St. Thomas's knows we are very different to other schools. I'm not belittling other schools, or I'm not saying anything,
I
but
know. Totally.
our way of education, or like the culture within the school, is very different to other schools, because I have friends who's gone to Royal and a lot of other schools. They have their own way of doing things, and they have their own culture. But I think with St. Thomas's, we were very early in during school days. We were we were put in front of the class to do presentations. We were introduced to things like the current affairs forum, even sex education in school. Certain teachers took liberties, because we are young kids, we're growing up. There are certain things that you should know when you go into the world. Cover up, protect yourself, protect yourself from diseases and all that. So I think certain teachers took liberties in teaching us all those things, and I think that's we were very forward in the way of thinking when we were in school. So I think a lot of the skills that I learned came from college, and a lot of the things I apply in day-to-day life came from college. I was in the Interact Club. I was Interact president in, I think, 2000 or 2001, if my memory serves me right. So
Okay.
a lot of the things that I learned at the Interact Club, a lot of those presentation skills, organizational skills, and all those things come into play. So I think, yeah, it was a great foundation, and yeah, I'm very thankful to college and everyone who was at college, all the teachers, and even senior students who we looked up to, for inspiring us, and I am who I am today because of college, for sure.
That's so. Just one more question before we move on to the next question regarding another area of your journey. This is from college. Now I'm sure when you guys have a drink on a Friday night, or
Mhm.
when you guys have a talk, I'm sure some fond memories from college would always spark, right? Is there anything that you could tell you, some fond memories that you can share for all of us? මට හිතන්නේ
Man,
ගොඩක් ඇති.
ගොඩක්
එකක්
තියෙනවා.
තෝරගන්න
But
අමාරුයි.
back in the day, we little bit of ruffians, I guess. Like, we studied, we did everything, right? ඉතින් අර beach එකේ එහා පැත්තේ කොල්ලෝ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඉස්කෝලේ ඉවර වෙලා පැනලා we go to this thing called Jojo's, Booba,
Right.
and all those were there. So we go for a drink after school. So you do the things that usual 17, 18-year-old boys do. So there was a lot of those things that certain things I can't say in public, but yeah, a lot of good memories, I think.
any fond memories, just quickly, any fond memories with funny things that happened in the classroom with teachers, or anything like that?
I think once in like the first year of A levels, we had this headmaster called Mr. Jayasena, who used to
Of
come
course,
around, and
of course,
you know
he
Mr.
was my
Jayasena.
headmaster as well.
Oh, right. So we are not. I don't know if we are that far, because he was there for a while, right? So Mr.
Right.
Jayasen, I think he asked us to clean the class because we used to have Tuesdays, we used to do palm parties. So everyone brings something, we get together and pang halila hamatanam, and it was a mess. So Mr. Jayasena asked us to clean the class. So what Kollo did was watura loku besam ගෙනල්ලා මුළු class එකටම ගාලා flood කරලා දැම්මා class. Now you cannot work like the whole day. We were outside cleaning. So those are the things that we did, and also there were very enthusiastic monkeys on trees. They used to jump to classrooms, and boys used to put like food, so that when they come to the classroom, everyone like just runs to the ground. So there used to be things like that. Yeah.
Nice. I think ඔය monkeys ලා හිටියේ අර in the upper school එකේ buildings තියෙන තැන.
Upper school එකේ අර upper school එකේ buildings තියෙන තැන තමයි year 9 and 10.
Now that part has been totally cleared now. එතන now they're doing it's cleared, and now they're doing a, what do you call it, is it a daycare? They're having a daycare there. It's no more. And all the confidential stuff you happen there.
Yeah. I haven't been to college in a long time. I think probably in about 6-7 years I haven't been to college.
Nice. So that being said, I would like to talk about a specific skill.
SLIIT Global Education is established for students who are interested in venturing past the higher education opportunities in Sri Lanka to explore avenues in countries such as Australia, Canada, UK, USA, Germany and France. They have a network of 30 plus universities that they collaborate with to provide students with the best learning and holistic university experience. You can also avail exclusive scholarship schemes, especially if you are a student or alumnus of SLIIT. SLIIT Global Education also provides exceptional academic counseling services for undergraduate and postgraduate students tailored to their requirements. They also offer expert visa guidance counseling services and pre-departure training to all their transfer students. If you're considering pursuing your higher education abroad, feel free to give their friendly team a buzz.
Welcome to SparkX, a platform that will groom you to have a leading edge over other IT students. We built this to give you the real skills to make you a superhero, actually a super talent. Being up on the game is really important, and that's why we researched what skills are really required by the IT industry. You will be surprised. It's not pure technical skills, but a combination of specific technical skills and soft skills that we offer, which no program out there in Sri Lanka teaches you. If you master these skills, you'll be assured a job in a leading IT company or the support to start your entrepreneurship journey. And that is why I teamed up with the best people to help you. Through a pre-selection process, candidates will be given the opportunity of a personalized mentorship with SparkX. The program is 6 months long and can be followed part-time while you study. Dedicated mentors with domain experts will connect you through live online learning and face-to-face boot camps.
that I see in you, Kamaj, on a serious note, I think when I saw you at the Dragon's Den, I don't think in that video you mentioned that you're from Sri Lanka. Do you?
I think I originally mentioned it at the beginning of the pitch, but they probably edited it out.
But I don't think in the video that we saw you don't say that
Hmm.
you're from Sri
No,
Lanka.
no. On the
Yeah.
on the pitch, at some point, I said I am originally from Sri Lanka, but when they did the final edit, that somehow got lost.
Yeah. So basically, the from the way you spoke, and I think it's something has to do with the accent. Maybe I never thought that you're from Sri Lanka, because after people started sharing, then I realized,
Mhm.
oh, this guy is from Sri Lanka, and today I'm amazed that you're from college as well. Let's talk about that later. Now, I think one prominent skill that I see in you is you are an eloquent speaker. You're really good in your public speaking. Now, when I say you're a good speaker, that doesn't mean you're fluent in English. When you
Mhm.
say you're a speaker, you know how to grab an audience. Now, a part of speaking, part of delivering a speech, and
Yeah.
part of communicating is about, it's not about the English words. Anyone could use nice English words, but it's
Mhm.
about having that attention. I'm sure your marketing background and your back it would have helped you, but I would like to talk about this. How have you got this skill? How did it evolve? And how important do you think is for a person who is doing in your part of in your field to be a good speaker?
I think for me, it derives from storytelling. I think anytime you do a pitch, anytime you explain something to someone, I think there should be an emotional connection, and there should be, um, it should every pitch has to have a beginning, middle, or end. Just like, because I studied film as well, so I have a film background as well. After I did postgraduate studies in film, so I learned like script writing, all of those things. So I think I approach everything as storytelling, as I'm telling a story, even with the brands that I own, and I directly am involved in marketing. Um, I try to tell a story every time. So I think that's where that probably comes from. Is from the storytelling background, and I approach every single pitch like a story. Even if I go and pitch to someone that I know, or even if I pitch to a stranger, I believe in an emotional connection, emotional attachment, and even on calls, right? So um, I'm doing a call with one of the biggest e-commerce companies next week. It's going to be, I can't tell you the name, but it's definitely, you guys can guess, it's one of the two big e-commerce companies in the world. Um,
Nice.
even those calls, I prepare for them, and I kind of have a direction in my mind where I want to take the call. Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, it's all about storytelling.
That's interesting. Now, added to that, I would also like to ask. See, I think most people are successful in what they do is because
Mhm.
they have good work ethic. Now, as you said that you prepare for it. You said,
Mhm.
and for you to be successful in whatever you do, you need to have good work ethic, as
Mhm.
well as you need to have that. You need to be very organized, and of course, goal orientation. All those things will add up. But
Mhm.
I think some people do certain things for the sake of doing things, and that's one reason for because they are not, that's one reason for them to not to be successful.
Yeah.
Now, how can you relate this to your journey as an entrepreneur, as a solution provider, as a host? You have I've seen you in several YouTube shows. We will be
Mhm.
talking about that. So
Yeah.
how important is work ethic? What do you think, Kamaj?
I think work ethic is everything, right? It's basically what drives you. Like, if you love what you do, um, there is no need to think about work ethic as a whole different other subject, right? Like, if you love what you do, your work ethic is going to be on point, like always. So I'm doing something that I love. Because I'm doing something that I love, it doesn't feel like work. So then your work ethic's straight, and then you don't even, it just comes as second nature to you, work ethic. But for people, I think the issue with a lot of the youngsters today, especially who want to start as entrepreneurs, or who want to get into entrepreneurship, right? Because like 10 years ago, entrepreneurs weren't really glorified, I think.
Yeah.
But in this day and age, everyone with, all of these like top YouTube shows bringing in entrepreneurs and talking about their entrepreneurship skills and all those things, I think it has made, especially in Sri Lanka, made people think entrepreneurship is easy. And it's something that you can easily get into and make a lot of money. I don't approach it that way. And I think work ethic definitely comes from you being able to do what you love, by being an entrepreneur. So definitely, if you start a business that you don't like, if you just start a business for the sake of making money or sake of making a quick profit and then getting out, I think your work ethic's gonna suffer, and then you're not gonna do, you're not gonna give you 100%, right? So if you love what you do, and if you every time when someone asks me, so this is the question that I get the most from young people, is like, give me a business idea where I can succeed. I'm like, that's the wrong way to think about it. For me, what I've done is I've found something that I liked to do. I've turned it into a business. Research to see if it's a viable business. Maybe I researched only for like a week, but in my mind, I did enough research um, to prove to myself that it could be a viable business option. So obviously,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to start and go through that whole journey to see if you're successful or not.
Right.
Definitely, that's something everyone should do and everyone has to do. So if you like something, try to think about how you can turn that into money, or how you can, because businesses, there are two types of businesses. There are these social businesses where you do it for a social cause. But yeah, that's the way to go about it. You find an idea, or find something that you like, and find something that you're really passionate about, and then try to slowly turn that into a business.
Right. That's really interesting. Now, there's another thing that I would like to ask in that same in that same path.
Mhm.
Now, there are different entrepreneurs or different business owners who think about their success in
Mhm.
different ways.
Yeah.
Now, for an example, if you take in the industry of music,
Mhm.
if you look at Gypsies, Mr.
Yeah.
Sunil Pereira, he's still at the top. I am yet to see an entertainer of his caliber
Mhm.
in Sri Lanka, Sunil Pereira. And if you ask him what made him come where he, what was his success story,
Mhm.
he would say, well, it was just luck. Vasana Agune. You watch
Mhm.
his interviews, you say, Vasana. Things happen by chance.
Yeah.
I'm not the most good looking guy, but I get invited for advertisements. These companies pay me a lot. There is no other skill that I have. Even my singing is kind of mediocre, but
Mhm.
for some reason people kind of like me, and we have gone a long
Yeah.
journey. So that's one category, right? Where
Yeah.
they think that it happened by chance. Now if you take a
Yeah.
person like Elon Musk,
Mhm.
he would say, no, it's hard work, my friend. I do not sleep. I sleep in my factories. I
Mhm.
it's about the total number of hours that I give. And thirdly, you see people who look for
Mhm.
divine blessing. A person like Mr. Merrill Fernando of Dilma. He says, well,
Mhm.
I really don't know these tea formulas that I get. I
Mhm.
think I get it from above.
Mhm.
There is no other explanation for me.
Yeah.
Now, from these three categories, do you belong to one, or do you have your own thing? What do you think, Kamaj?
Well, so Sunil Uncle, I've had the privilege of knowing him and being around him. So, because I'm a friend of Gayan's and friend of the family, his both of his sons are my friends. So we've hung out a lot at his place. And they live pretty close to me, my home in Ratmalana. So I know Sunil Uncle's like the method to his madness, because I've
By the
seen
way,
it
I'm in
firsthand.
Katubed.
Langa Langa Minis. Cool.
By
Yeah,
the way,
so
where are
Sri
you
Lanka.
from?
I'm on Pirivan Road, Macha. So in front of the
Ah,
police.
nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
So
Anyway, you were saying something.
yeah. So Sunil Uncle, though he says, that it's all luck, but it is partly luck, but he's super organized. Like everything's filed, and everything's filed separate. All his bills and contracts, songwriting contracts, and everything from like 30-40 years ago, if you ask him where it is, he still goes to a file and he pulls it out. So it is not a happy accident that he is successful. He's super organized. He has there's a little bit of luck mixed into it as well, but I think that organization and him being super prim and proper about like everything he does is probably why he's successful, and why brands want to work with him. And he's on time. If there's a recording, he goes there on time. And he's a great entertainer, right? And he's a very different character from the other entertainers that you see in Sri Lanka. So he's unique. I think that uniqueness probably played a bigger part, with a little bit of luck and organization skills. I would like to say I'm a happy mix of probably two of those things. I believe in luck, but I also do believe in hard work. I still put a lot of hours into the day. So my day is not done yet. Today I started when I left home at 6:30. Got back at around 8, and now so my day is still not done, right? So I do a ton of things. A lot of hours. I believe in the amount of hours you put in. Yes, a lot of people say about working smart and working hard and all. And there's a lot of theories about that, but at the end of the day, just to simplify things, the more hours you put in to your work, the more quality hours you put into your work, the better results you're going to get. But if you're working at a terrible idea, which no one cares about, even if you put in 100 hours a week or more, it's not going to succeed. Exactly. So it's got to be a right balance of a few of those things.
Nice. Now with that, I would also like to ask, well, the people who sometimes put in a massive number of hours, of course, we have seen people who are successful like that. I think you are a testimony for that. As I said, Elon Musk I think recently he was named as a person who has the highest net worth. Now, in the same token, there are some people who put in a lot of hours, and of course, they are successful materialistically. Material wise, property wise, net worth, of course, yes. But then comes a question: at what cost? Sometimes, their family lives are not properly, doesn't properly flow. If you take a person like Michael Jackson, had a very crazy lifestyle, and it was there were arguments for this guy, saying that he's a good guy, and there were so many criticisms that there were so many cases against him. Now, sometimes you can be successful at the cost of your family. Now, there are people who would say, I don't want to work that number of hours. If I get a little bit of salary just to pay my bills and to go for a walk, that's totally fine. But what's most important is my family. But at the same time, there are people who balance it so really well. They do the number of quality hours, like you said. They have time for their family, and it's good. Now, what do you think about that? Sometimes it's very difficult to strike this balance. Like, what's your advice for young entrepreneurs in doing this?
I think it depends on what you want to achieve at the end of the day, right? So if you're like a 20-year-old kid versus a 37-year-old like me, I'm 37, though you said I'm 35. Thank you for that, but I'm actually 37.
Okay.
that Wikipedia
No,
was
I said 35. I said 35.
Yeah, you said 35, but I'm actually 37.
Oh, yeah, 37. Okay.
Yeah. That Wikipedia or whatever you looked at was probably not updated, or it's from like a older article, probably they wrote a while back. Anyway, so our lifestyles are different. I have 2 kids, and though my wife does most of the kids' work and she takes care of them, and I'm thankful to her for that every day. But a 20-year-old kid or a 19-year-old kid or 22-year-old kid, you might not have those commitments that that I have. So if you have 18 hours a day that you can commit to a business, if that's what you want to do, why not do it? But it also depends on what you want to do for yourself, right? At 18, I didn't understand that I need to build something for myself. So it all comes with maturity, and it all comes with certain people grow at certain paces and certain levels. Certain people understand about life. So I think I got that trigger, and I understood it pretty late in my life. But if you're young, and if you're ambitious, and if this is what you really want to do and try out, it depends on your personal happiness. And at first, I think when I first started speaking or doing interviews, I always used to say work hard, grind, go at it. But I think my perspective has changed, because there is no point of me advising someone else without me knowing their lifestyle, or without me knowing their goals, to say here is this cookie cut way to kind of do things. But it depends definitely from yourself, and it's a question that you need to ask yourself, to say, is this what I want to do? And at the end of the day, if it makes you happy, do it. If something else makes you happy, if you want to hang out with your girlfriend like 18 hours a day, and then work 2 hours a day, and sleep 4 hours a day, if that makes you happy, do that.
That's interesting. So just to add to that, where did your love for shoes come from? Can you explain that to us, please?
I think it all started from basketball.
Okay.
Probably like Michael Jordan playing in like Jordan 1s and 2s. That's what I saw first. I didn't really know anything. I didn't know much about basketball culture when we were growing up. The only thing probably the only two players I knew was Michael Jordan and three players: Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and Shaquille O'Neal. Maybe I knew quite a few. But I think it started from basketball, and then when I moved to England to do my undergrads, I think a lot of the street culture there affected me. I saw a lot of those things, and I got inspired. I always liked style, fashion, and I always liked to dress nice. And I think when I fell in love with sneakers, and it just exploded.
Nice. Oh, I had this question which I forgot to ask you, which was
Yeah.
connected to the previous one. So
Hmm.
there are two scenarios. You got to select one.
Hmm.
The first scenario is uh, it's your wedding anniversary, and you have decided to take your wife
Hmm.
to a nice restaurant and
Hmm.
to celebrate your anniversary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have a multi-million dollar contract that you think you need to pitch to a multi-million. It was your dream, dream contract if you wanted to get, and that guy has also scheduled it on that day. He doesn't have another alternative day, and you got to select one of those two. What would you go for, Kamaj?
I'll take my wife out for lunch and go to the meeting in the evening.
Yeah. If you had no other option, you had to sacrifice one, what would you do?
I think my wife would probably understand the importance of the meeting. I think I've been married for 8 years now, so certain things, it's understanding between people, and I think we are at a very good place where we understand what the bigger picture is, and we're not 19, 20-year-old kids anymore. We understand the bigger picture, and I think she would totally be okay with that. Dinner is dinner. um I say, if if you're married, or if you have a girlfriend, um your special day should be every day. So it shouldn't really matter that there is like this one special day you need to go out just because it's her birthday. I'm sure she'll understand.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So this is about how you treat your employees. I'm sure.
Mhm.
What's the number of employees that who are reporting to you, or do you have, or because it's online, I don't know. Are there any people that you're managing, Kamaj?
Very unique business model, Trevin. I don't have any. We have two guys in the warehouse who works, but everything else is remote, and everything else is outsourced. So directly,
Right,
technically, I don't manage a lot of people.
right.
The guys who work at the warehouse are more like homies, more than employees. So I think the
But of course they get a paycheck from you, right?
of course, but it's
Yeah.
I think the question you're trying to ask, or the answer I have, is like treat people like people, treat people
Yeah,
like
yeah. No, no.
humans.
My yeah, I'll just ask my question and then it's easy for you to add, I guess.
Yeah.
So my question is this. This was something which I heard from Mr. Merrill Fernando, and
Hmm.
he says there came a point in our business where we were really successful and we had a chunk of money to invest and to grow the business, double the size it was.
Hmm.
We either had that option where we could invest in the business and expand it,
Yeah.
or we had another option to increase the benefits of our employees and increase the salaries and benefits and all those things, and to
Yeah.
invest the money for that. Now, from those two options, what we selected was the latter one, where we
Mm.
invested on our employees, loyal employees, through a prioritized order.
Yeah.
And what we realized was that the business grew
Mm.
even more than we expected in the first option, because the employees were loyal to us
Yeah.
and they did the best for us. Now,
Yeah.
it's very little entrepreneurs or very little businesses and organizations think like that, because it's all about getting the maximum out of by paying the lowest. Now,
Yeah.
since that's why I asked you, are you managing any employees? But I don't know how you could relate to this. I would like to get your opinion or
Yeah.
and how you think about this.
Yeah. I think it's a very our business model is very unique. So it's it's not apples to apples. But if I was to approach it, I think I would probably it would have to depend on what the balance sheet would looks like how much tax we owe to the government. All of those things have to be taken into consideration. But yes, definitely treating employees right is the best way to grow the business. But it also depends on how many employees you have, how many direct reports do you have, how many permanent employees you have. And Mr. Merrill's company has been around for so long, and our business is, such a young business. So you can't compare it apples to apples. But yeah,
Yeah.
taking the employee route is the correct thing to do. But if someone else took the other route, hey, no judgments.
Okay, that's interesting. So, this is something about about your likings. So, everyone has a role model that they would look up to. If it's not a role model, someone that you really like. When I was
Hmm.
small, I really liked to see WWE, and I wish I could come to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and see Bret Hart one day and take a picture with him and do a sharpshooter on him or something like that. I really don't know, but yeah, these
Yeah,
are people.
I've actually had the pleasure of meeting Bret Hart. Uh,
Really?
yeah.
Where was
Because
that? Can
when I
you
used
please
to work in
explain it, Josh?
when I used to work in film, I worked for this company called E1. So we used to manage the WWE brand for digital distribution. So we used to, I personally haven't gone to WrestleMania, but like the team that managed it went to WrestleMania. But when they did like a ton of meet and greets in Toronto, um, we always used to go, and like we had the option of going and meeting them before the actual meet and greet and hanging out with them. So I've met Bret Hart. I've met who else have I met? I've met the Iron Sheik, Bret Hart,
When was
a
this?
few other
When was this?
wrestlers. Yeah.
When are you talking about?
2012, 13. So I worked at that
Oh,
company
okay,
from
that's
2012 to
after his return,
2017. Oh yeah, yeah.
right?
It's his retirement. He already had the stroke by then, and he wasn't.
Yes.
You couldn't do a sharpshooter on him. But he was like, he's still like big and stocky. Like he was still big.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that I wanted to ask you was like, yeah, that's those were when I was small. I really like to see them the way they spoke, and
Hmm.
in terms of entertainment, I always took what they offered when they perform, because it's like a soap
Yeah.
opera, as you know. Now,
Yeah.
who are you inspired from? Who were your role models? Who did you like, and why did you like them? And what have you taken from them in your journey, of being who you are now?
I think it's very weird for me. It's growing up. I didn't really. There wasn't this one figure that I looked up to, or I loved, or wanted to emulate, or wanted to be like. I think the inspirational characters probably came later in life. I'm a huge follower of Gary Vee. Huge fan of Elon. Chamat Palihapitiya, Sri Lankan. I've been listening to his stuff I started listening to him very recently, but I've been watching a ton of his interviews. I think people like that inspire me. Probably also designers like Virgil, Kanye, not so much music, but design sense and how we approach certain things, how we market certain products. I think I take a lot from like culture.
Nice.
I obviously used to be a huge fan of Michael Jackson, but I don't know how if he inspired me in that sense. But yeah, but looking back at certain things that they did, which we didn't realize was like marketing at that point in our lives. But yeah,
Yeah.
they've done some
Okay.
great marketing campaigns.
Correct. And I would like to ask, like, um, uh, when it comes to yeah, when it comes to your journey as a businessman, as a performer, as a solution provider, there would have been people who would have transformed your life. I really don't know whether you have, like, I'm not talking about a role model, but a person who has helped you, where you say, if it was not for that guy, I won't be here today, or if it was not for that advice, I won't be here today. Was there any quote or script, I don't know, any book or any person, and is there anything like that that you could share with
I don't
us?
think so. No, not really. I think what I'm doing right now. Obviously, inspiration from like during school days, like all of those teachers, all of those inspiring people you used to look up to. All of that's there. But I think as a career, after I started doing what I do, um, if you're asking about a connection or like a mentor or anyone, no, I'm 100% self-made. I My inspirations are they come from culture. They come from things around
They
me.
come
They
from
come from
culture.
popular
Can you
culture.
explain that? What do you mean by culture? What do you...
Culture in the sense like design, art,
Right.
movies, TV shows, marketing campaigns, all that I like to call culture.
Right.
So a lot of my inspiration comes from most of the time what other people do.
Nice. So, Kamaj, when did you come to Canada? Now you are in Canada. So, Kamaj is in Toronto. So, when did you come to Canada? When was this? And why
2011.
did you come to Canada?
2010 or 2011 is when I came to Canada. So I came here to do my postgrad studies in film and TV production and marketing. Um, I decided to stay from after I graduated. I got employed. Then I applied for my PR and I stayed on.
And here you are
I
now.
prefer Canada. Yeah. I mean, I used to live in England. I did my bachelor's in England, so I prefer Canada to England very much.
Okay. So, what do you think about being in Sri Lanka? And some people might say, Kamaj won't be where he is now if he was in Sri Lanka, right? That would be one area. One person might say like that. And another person might say, what, look how unique Kamaj is. And if he was in Sri Lanka and with the networks that he had, he would have gone to the next level. I mean, there would be both sides of the coin. What do you personally, what do you think about this? Is something to do with the country, the system, quality of life, so on and so forth? What do you think?
I think I would have still been. I think it's a mindset thing, right? So when I lived in Sri Lanka, I didn't have the mindset, I didn't have the hustle that I have now, and I had to go through when I came to Canada. Like starting from scratch, like all of those things. Because at home, you always have a safety net to fall back on, right? Your mom has a house, like your mom will feed you, even if you don't have money, even if you don't have a job, you can go home. There's food. So I don't think the hustle would come this fast, but at a certain point, I'm sure that transformation would have happened, and things would have been more difficult to get off the ground in Sri Lanka because of some, Sri Lanka is like full of crazy bureaucratic bull that we have to go through. Like even when you like want to start a company, when you want to incorporate a company, it takes sorry, so long. Here I can do it I can incorporate a company within half an hour or 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. In Sri Lanka, it's such a hassle. You gotta, you can't do digital documents. You gotta sign it on paper. Like I'm right now I'm incorporating a company in Sri Lanka, and there's the hassle that I have to go through. You don't even understand, dude. Like they send you the documents, you print those documents, you sign, and you put like a company stamp on it, and you have to DHL it back to Sri Lanka because they don't accept digital documents. It is nuts. Like for me, who started a business here, and all of those little organizational things was like so easy to do. It's a nightmare to do in Sri Lanka. So I mean, my progress would have been a little slower if I was in Sri Lanka. But hey, that's the way the system works, right? Like
I know. But
I-
just to give you two contrary situations. Like
yeah.
I know, I don't know. In BC, in British Columbia, if you want to get your driver's license, you need to go to
Yeah.
ICBC. How is it the same in Ontario?
I think
Is it
I don't
Service
know what
Canada,
the
or where do you guys
yeah,
go
I
to
think
get it?
it's Service Canada or Service Ontario, one of those two. You
Right.
just
I'm sure. So I just try to recall your experience going to that place to get your driving license, opposed
Mhm,
to going to
mhm.
Wareham and staying for 8 hours and
I've
taking
got to
that.
wear. I think I've got to wear her twice because my old driving license, something happened. Like I've had it in my wallet for so long, like the whole thing
Right.
like faded away. Uh, I had to go to wear her,
I'm
but
just wanted to ask you, like how the
the
service is.
experience.
I mean, how, like, as you said, bureaucracy, deadlock, inefficient way of doing things. So, of course, there is a difference, right?
Yeah. Like you when you go there in here, you get treated like a human, no matter what your job is, no matter what your background is, no matter who you know or don't know, and as long as you have all your documents, your thing is done. And there is there is a steady system. There's a there's a way there's an organized way of how the paperwork and everything flows. So in Sri Lanka,
Correct.
I think we don't have that structure. You
Yeah.
have to call
No.
one of your, someone
Yeah.
and give a little
Yeah.
something, and
That's
then you
totally
get.
correct. I mean, my wife, when I talk my wife, and she always prefers staying in Canada, and we came as permanent residents here, and she always prefers that. But
Yeah.
I always debate with her, saying that the good side in Sri Lanka sets
Hmm.
off with the bad side in Canada, and the good side
Hmm.
in Canada sets off with the. I'll give you an example, and I want your honest opinion on this. Okay,
Hmm.
just tell me what you think. Now, if you want to, if you want to see a doctor in Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
I can personally call a doctor and get him to my house, even because I there are
Yeah.
no because my brother is an MBBS guy. So
Right.
yes, so even if he is
A
busy,
lot of it. Yeah.
his friends would come, or even
Yeah.
I know some chaps from our college who are
Right.
doctors, right, from
Yeah.
my batch and seniors, so on and so forth. I could get it
Yeah.
like this. I'm
Yeah.
just telling you an experience that I went through when I was in BC. Harid,
Yeah.
I had to go to the emergency. Hayamart. Harid, my wife, when
Yeah.
you was going, බලන්න hospitals අප්ප මාර ලස්සනයි බලන්නකො කොච්චරක් ෂෝක්ද මේක බලන්න මේකලු
Yeah.
කොච්චරක් quality ගිය ගමන් අර දැම්ම
Yeah.
බෑන්ඩ් එක දාලා දැන් ඉඳගෙන ඉන්නවා අරගෙන එක්ස්රේද අර්රේද මේ ඔක්කොම ගත්තා හරිද එතකොට my wife was like බලන්නකො මාර බැස්ලා කොච්චරක් ගත්තද හොඳට ගත්තනේ
Yeah.
බලන්න ඔක්කොම ගත්තනේ අපේ
Yeah.
ලංකාවේ ගත්තනම් කොච්චරක් යනවද මේක
Yeah.
ෆ්‍රී අප්පා ඔක හරි
Yeah.
1 hour ගියා 6:30 7:30 ඔක්කොම ඉවරයි then
Yeah.
you can you please sit and wait here sir till the doctor comes අම්මා
Yeah.
7:30 8:30 9:30 මේ මම පොඩ්ඩක් මේ මගේ chest pain එකක් ආවා කියලා ගියේ 9:30 10:30
Yeah.
10:30 11:30 12:30 එනකොට මං හිතුවා chest pain එකද නැත් වගේ කියලා and around 1:30
Mm.
the doctor came and says, well, we just looked at all your reports, everything looks normal. I think it's a windy
Yeah.
pain, and if you get this
Yeah.
again, just come back again. Apart from that, you're okay. Okay, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's it, there's nothing to worry. So it took a lot of time. Now,
Yeah.
of course, it's we know it happens in a priority order, blah blah blah. What do you think about this? The good side in Sri Lanka tallies with the bad side, and it's at the end of the day, it's the same. What do you think about this thinking?
I think your chest pain was probably nothing. So the nurse on duty probably took a look at your ECG or whatever they take, and they can read it. They probably said this guy there's nothing wrong with this guy, because I know chest pain is priority. They take you right away, and you get to see like a doctor on duty right away, because my mother-in-law had to go through it a couple of years back. Quickly they took her within, as soon as you walked into the hospital, she was on a bed, a doctor saw her, like everything was done. So I think they probably realized like your case was not that serious, but I think things are done in priority, and even if you had to wait for a long time, it still has a structure, right? They did the preliminary work, they took a look at it, and they probably decided that you're not priority, you can wait a couple of hours till a doctor comes. So I think that them being disorganized, probably there is a system behind which we don't see, but
Yes.
in our country,
They should listen to that song. Ara Kauda Boy ke song hai kathi. Can you remember?
Asage fitting agamang
That's the one. That's the one.
අසාධාරණේ එයාට
Yeah.
පෙන්නන්ඩ. You sing that song නේද? ඔයා මොකක් හරි වගේ තියෙනව නේද? වීඩියෝ එකක ඒක කියන.
No.
I think no. I see you're singing with අපේ Marians දිලීපත් එක්ක sing කරන එකක්
Believer.
viral.
That's Saima Gattiala. Saima
Right.
Gattiala.
Yeah.
So we I mean, it was a really nice time talking to you, Kamaj. We come to the last question in our lineup, and this is something that every one of us could learn from. Now, how good you are, and how prepared you are, how good your work ethic is, and how much you believe yourself. There is always going to be two parties. There is going to be a party that likes you, and there will be I don't know whether it's a majority or a minority, depends on the person. There will be a particular group of people who will dislike you, who will talk bad about you, who will give you bad reviews, and who would want to pull you out, and who would not want to encourage you. And this is negativity. It can come in different forms. It can be through jealousy, backstabbing, you name it, bad politics. Even if you live in Sri Lanka or Canada, sometimes it might be discrimination. It can be discrimination. Now, how do you handle negativity? And can you give us some examples, if possible, and how you handled it? And this would be a good it would be a good area for the youngsters, because some people get discouraged and they're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to stop this. They sometimes stop things, they don't pursue then those forward. Like, what do you think? How do you handle negativity?
I'll give you a great example, Trevin. I think so when Sneak It Up first started, and I started reaching out to brands because we are direct with most of the brands we work with. This brand called Vans and this brand called AIESEC reached out to them. Vans, I knew for a long time. For some reason, we had all of the requirements to have an account. Other than the fact that I'm an outsider, I have a different accent from Canadians. This could totally be not true, but this is what I kind of figured out for myself, because every other box was ticked. So we didn't get a Vans account. They stopped replying to us. We went through another friend of my partner's other friend who knows one of the buyers or one of the account managers. Still, when there was a brown guy in the mix, totally rejected. So we don't have a Vans account. We have other ways of acquiring those things. AIESEC is the other brand. So I'm not blaming these brands, or these brands are not bad brands. It could be one bad apple in the office, right? AIESEC, I went for. So we called them. Everything was done. Like all the contracts were done. I get sent out. I think I even got my login to the AIESEC, their backend and all those things, and I placed I think a 10 grand order. But while this order was processing, they wanted me to come into the office for a meeting and look at some of the new releases and stuff. And I walk in. Obviously, this guy is Caucasian, and as soon as I walked in, the mood switched. I knew what it was. What was supposed to be a longer meeting cut pretty short. On my way back home, I read my emails. It's like, oh, the account is not available anymore. The head office has rejected the account. We're not taking any more new suppliers. I'm like, there's only one thing that that could go wrong. That's me being brown. And yeah, still we don't have an A6 account. But how I take negativity is like that sales manager is probably going to die at some point, or probably going to leave the job at some point, and someone else is going to take over. So there's going to be another opportunity to deal with that brand again. And you just don't, it's just business. You don't take it personal, right? You move on, and you look at other brands, you look at other things, you focus on your day-to-day things. And a lot of guys, I've seen a lot of guys say a lot of things about me online as well. Like I read some comments, like I'm a snake oil salesman, and I mean, I don't even have a product that's been delivered in business in Sri Lanka. So I don't have to sell snake oil to Sri Lankan people. I'm just using even my podcasts and stuff. I'm just like taking time out of my personal schedule to teach you something, to kind of make you learn through my experiences. So why would I be?
I think when I was browsing through, I saw a comment of a guy who was kind of telling something about the shoes you wear.
The thing at the end of the day, even like with what like I buy these things, and I wear these things because I like it. I'm in the culture. I'm in it day to day. I'm in the business. That's the only reason. And I only buy what I like. I don't buy things for hype. I honestly think Balenciagas, except for that like one model, one design, everything else is hideous. So just because it's hyped, and just because it's expensive, I don't want to buy it. I would rather stick to my pair of Stan Smiths, or like my Jordans or whatever. I just like what I wear. I don't do things to show others that I have wealth, or which I don't have a lot of anyway. I'm not a show off. I'm happy with what I got, and I'm very content with my life.
Exactly.
And I'm happy
That's
at the end
how
of
it
the
should be.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so it was very nice chatting, Kamaj, with you, and there were so many things to learn from you as well. And what do you think about this model? I'm in BC, and you are in Toronto. We will be connecting with some celebrities who are in Sri Lanka. And what do you think about this short time that you spent, and about Luminary? It's organized by AIESEC in SLIIT.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great initiative from them, Luminary. Just before we end, I would like to ask, what are your final remarks?
I mean, it's always good to educate the younger folk about entrepreneurship, and bring in characters from different parts of life and talk to them and chat about it. I think podcast is a great platform that's catching on in Sri Lanka right now. So the more podcasts that usually are on, I usually go on all of them because I want to promote podcasts. If it's just like a YouTube thing, I've stopped doing that because I've done a ton of that. And if you really wanted my story, you can find it on YouTube. But a lot of the podcast requests, no matter what the size of the podcast is, I usually do, because I believe in podcasts, and I'm a consumer of podcasts, and I'm a producer of podcasts. I have my own podcast called The Kamaj Show, which I haven't done an episode in about a month because I've been so busy. It's still
And the Daya show is also yours, right?
yeah. So Daya Show is a very it's a different story, because I launched my own sauce brand in Sri Lanka. So that's how Daya Show came about. Daya Show is part of the marketing campaign. I like to call it the longest marketing campaign in Sri Lanka without mentioning the product name. So we did like one season of, I think, 12 or 15 episodes without even mentioning the product, to kind of get people's minds set to that sauce culture, and make them learn a little bit about foreign sauces, and there's this such a culture. Then from season 2, we
By the way, before I wanted to ask this, but what's your favorite at Tim Hortons? What would you order in a Monday morning? Favorite at Tim Hortons?
Mazang, I'm currently on a diet.
You don't go to Tim Hortons. Oh, shit.
No. I go to Timmy's. Mama, mema. I usually drink black coffee now. Eka වැඩියෙන් බොන්න ready because I can't eat a lot of things. Coffee wala calories poddayne තියෙන්නේ black coffee wala, so I have about 3-4 a day. But if not, Timmy's වලින් මම normally කන්නේ 4 cheese bagel toasted with butter and French vanilla is my favorite usually. It has a
vanilla. So what?
lot of sugar.
A lot of sugar. මං කරන්නේ මොකක්ද දන්නවද? I take a French vanilla. I ask them to put half coffee and put 3 creams.
ඌ නැත්තම් සීනි වැඩි.
එතකොට අරක කැපිලා යනවා. නැත්තම් diabetes පෑ දෙකකින් හැදෙනවා.
I know. මම අද after a long time මං අද එකක් කෙල්ල ඇරියා එකක්. and I drink like a big one too. I drink like XL coffees, right? මං ගොඩක්
okay.
So lot of sugar today and I'm like අන්තිමට යද්දි එක බී ගන්නත් බෑ.
බී ගන්නත් බෑ.
අර පොඩ්ඩක් රස්නේ ගියාන් පස්සේ අමාරුයි බොන්න.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kamaj, we would really like to thank you on behalf of Luminary. Thank you so much for allocating your time
You're welcome.
to take part in this interview. We really appreciate it. And as I said, it was very unique the way you think about certain things, and we really respect that, and we really appreciate you coming. And until we meet next time, it's time to say goodbye. Cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, guys. Bye.
That's this week's episode of The Luminary. Don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.
SLIIT Global Education is established for students who are interested in venturing past the higher education opportunities in Sri Lanka to explore avenues in countries such as Australia, Canada, UK, USA, Germany, and France. They have a network of 30 plus universities that they collaborate with to provide students with the best learning and holistic university experience. You can also avail exclusive scholarship schemes, especially if you are a student or alumnus of SLIIT. SLIIT Global Education also provides exceptional academic counseling services for undergraduate and postgraduate students tailored to their requirements. They also offer expert visa guidance counseling services and pre-departure training to all their transfer students. If you're considering pursuing your higher education abroad, feel free to give their friendly team a buzz.
Welcome to SparkX, a platform that will groom you to have a leading edge over other IT students. We built this to give you the real skills to make you a superhero, actually a super talent. Being up on the game is really important, and that's why we researched what skills are really required by the IT industry. You will be surprised. It's not pure technical skills, but a combination of specific technical skills and soft skills that we offer, which no program out there in Sri Lanka teaches you. If you master these skills, you will be assured a job in a leading IT company or the support to start your entrepreneurship journey. And that is why I teamed up with the best people to help you. Through a pre-selection process, candidates will be given the opportunity of a personalized mentorship with SparkX. The program is 6 months long and can be followed part-time while you study. Dedicated mentors with domain experts will connect you through live online learning and face-to-face boot camps.